Okay, so let's get started. For today, we're going to finish the command line tutorial. So first thing we can do is go to GitHub. So let me make my screen a little bigger here. This is the repository. You might want to make a bookmark for this page, but it's just github.com/cuttlefish with 2 H's /Python for data analysis with dashes between the words. So I've made some updates since last time. Basically, I just moved a few things around in lessons 2 and 3. So lesson 2 was last Thursday, and today is lesson 3. So what you can do is click on lessons here, and you'll see lessons 2 and 3, and you can see I made updates yesterday. So there's some minor updates. So let's on the Mac, what you can do is hold down the command button and then click this lesson, then it'll open up in a new tab. This should work in any browser. And then do the same for lesson 3. So now what you should have is one window with 3 tabs. The one tab is the GitHub page, the lessons directory in the Python for data analysis repository. And then you'll have a tab for lesson 2 and for lesson 3. So I just want to briefly review what we covered last week and highlight a couple things that we either didn't cover or maybe went over quickly. So we covered basic commands to print working directory, list the contents of a working directory, change into a directory, and some variations on that. And we covered absolute and relative paths. Just as a reminder, a single period or dot represents the current directory. So if you type cd dot, you won't do anything. You'll just change into where you already are. If you type cd dot dot, you'll go up one directory, and then you can do all kinds of variations on that. So if you type cd dot dot and then a slash, the slash just says, okay, what do you want to do inside that directory? Well, dot dot goes up again, so this would go up 2 directories. One slash by itself is the root directory, and this tilde is the home directory. We covered making and removing directories, how to create an empty file or change the file modification time, various features of this cat function, copying, moving, removing, and then there's one thing we didn't cover, which is making a symbolic link. So let's try that now. So what we're going to do is open up our terminal app. So you can type command spacebar this on the Mac. This will open up Spotlight Search, or you can open your terminal app any way you want. And what we're going to do is change into our directory that we created last time for the course. So this should be in your home folder if you type cd sio209. And then your directory should only have one folder in it at this point, one subdirectory, which is lessons. Mine has a few others because I've got other content in mind, but you can type cd lessons, and then you should have lesson 2 from last time, and maybe you have this bar file, and maybe you have some other random stuff in there. Now, keep in mind that this lesson 2 from last time, this is the version that I had for last week, and I've made some updates. So the go-to place for the latest, greatest content is always going to be GitHub. And the nice thing is that that's always going to be there in the foreseeable future. So you can always turn there if you have you knew you learned something in this course and you're not sure where. You can always go to GitHub and it should be there. Okay. So let's have a look at this bar file. So this is just this text file we created last time. And let's say we want to just make a symbolic link. So we're going to use this syntax here where we're going to type ln-s. So this is make a symbolic link. And then we're going to put the name of the file and then the name of the link, which could simply be another name in this folder. So link bar, and we can call this bar link. So hit enter, and when we type ls, you might have some special coloring for links, but the best way to see this no matter what environment you are is to type ls-l. And what this will show is that there's a couple things to note. We didn't really go over all of the different features of this long format, but this might be a good time to briefly do that. So what we have here is the first letter in this code on the left here tells you what kind of file it is. So a directory will have a D. We saw that last time. A regular file will just have a dash, and a link will have an L. Then the next 3 letters, or actually the next 9 letters, are all permissions for the user, for you, for others that might have permissions, and then for the whole, or excuse me, for whatever group might have permissions, and then for anyone else on the computer. This is the owner is then listed here, and there's some other information. But the main point I wanted to make was that you can see that there's this notation where this bar link is now pointed to the file bar. So if we say we do less bar link, it will get the same output. We can also do cat, or let's do head bar star. What this is going to do is this is going to print out the first 10 lines, or as many lines as there are if it's less than 10, of all the files that begin with the letters BAR. So what you'll see is that we're printing out the content of the file bar and also the file bar link, which is just a link to the file bar. So it's going to be the exact same content. This is similar to an alias on your Mac. This can be useful in a lot of ways. And you can also do this with directories, and you can link files. In most cases, they won't be in the same folder as where the original file is. You might want to link somewhere else. So for example, if there are folders I use a lot on the terminal, or using bash, for example, I want those folders to be accessible from my home directory, but I might not want them in my home directory. They might be in my Dropbox folder or something, so I can make a link from Dropbox to my home folder with a symbolic link like this. Okay, so there's some other commands that we covered last time to investigate text files. So we've just covered a few of these now. Again, we have less to view a file in a separate window, and then to get out of that, remember you type the letter Q. That's the most important keyboard shortcut for that command. Head to see the first 10 lines of a file, tail to see the last 10 lines. We can do a word count. We can try that here. We can do WC bar star. And again, these two files are the same, so we're going to have 4 lines, 16 words, and 87 characters in that file. We can open a file using whichever. This is a good command to use on the Mac. It sometimes will work on Unix or Linux systems, but not necessarily. This will open a file using the default program that's set for that file type. That's really useful. Another one that we, yeah, there's a question?
Does that star mean all the files?
Yeah, we'll cover that in a minute. But the star means match any characters.
Okay.
Yeah. So it could match nothing, or it could match 3 characters or 100 characters. Anything. Basically, what we're saying is I want to match all the files that start with BAR, and that we don't care what's after that. So this this command file is really useful. So we can type file bar, and it will say this file is ASCII text, so it's a text file. We can also do file star. This will run this command file on all three of the files in this directory, and it's saying that these two are text files, and then this third one here is a text file with very long lines. Sometimes it'll tell you if it's English or another language, and it'll also tell you if it's a binary file or a. Often this is really useful if somebody sends you a file and they don't have the right extension on the file. So it's like a gzipped file, but it doesn't have any extension, or it says tar instead of gzip or whatever. You can run this command, and this command will try to figure out what kind of file it is. So that can save you a lot of time. Another one that's super useful is Grep. So what Grep does is it searches the file for a regular expression. And a regular expression, we'll have a whole class about this later on in the course. But regular expressions are strings of text that are matched using some sort of symbols that can specify multiple characters. So a simple example in Bash is this star. So this star, when we type it on the Bash command line, matches any number of characters. In Grep, the syntax is a little different, but we'll just do a simple example with just regular characters. So what we're going to do is, first let's look at this file bar, and we can see, let's say we want to see which lines, we only want the lines in this file that contain the word the. So we're going to type grep is the command, and then the regular expression, the, so that's just 3 characters, and then bar. So this will now, and if you've followed along last time and you used some of the .bash profile sort of, if you added some commands to your Bash profile that provided grep coloring, you should see what I see, which is this yellow coloring of the matching word. But the main thing is that you're only getting the lines that match. The coloring is just to help your eye to see where the match happened. The main thing is that you're only getting the lines that match. Now, it's good practice probably to use quotes around the regular expression, because sometimes you're going to have something where you have, let's say we want to find lines that match is the, and if we hadn't had those quotes, it wouldn't have worked, because it wouldn't realize that that was a single expression. So there's a lot of things you can do with grep and regular expressions. You can use special characters, and we'll cover all this later in the course. But even just this basic formulation is really useful. Any questions about that?